Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. We in this age shout from the top of our rooftops that democracy is the best system, and it is. But when we say it's the best system, basically we mean the real democracy and not the perverted one that we see around us. Canada has a record of being a good democratic country. There have been instances when the concept of democracy was sought to be eroded, but by and large, the country remained democratic, despite the fact that at one time or the other, one group was victimized, one community was held up to ridicule. But what is happening today is really shocking. The present government, which professes to be extremely representative and democratic, is taking very steady actions to derail democracy in the country. This Prime Minister, Honorable Justin Trudeau, when he was the leader of opposition, was critical of Harper, and maybe rightly so, and his claim was that Harper, because of his majority, was taking action without consulting others, and he couldn't tolerate it. But imagine what Harper was doing is just minuscule to what Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is doing. Recently, he took two actions, and both of them are likely to have serious repercussions. One is that without the knowledge or consent of the people, the affected persons, the personal details, the personal data, including the financial transaction data, shall be taken up by the government from the banks. 500,000 Canadians would be affected by this. Stats Canada has already accessed this data, which is absolutely private and personal information, without knowledge and without explicit or implicit consent of the people affected. As a citizen of the country, my personal financial information belongs to me, and I have a right to know when it's being assessed, and I also want to know for which purpose it's being assessed. And the protection of the personal information, protection of privacy of the Canadians is an integral role of the government. Is the government doing so? No. The present Liberal government has failed to protect the Canadians, and legally the data has been accessed. It's an illegal otherwise thing, but since the government has accepted this, Stats Canada has invaded the privacy of 500,000 Canadians. Now, if this had happened in the case of a social network, say by Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, this very government would have raised a hue and cry and started cribbing. If this had been leaked by WikiLeaks, you can be sure there would have been a political tsunami. But here, without consent and even without knowledge, they have done it, and this is something absolutely unacceptable. And it is, in fact, as I said earlier, derailing the process of democratic system, and it has some odor, and the odor is that of dictatorial agencies, dictatorial governments, totalitarian regimes. It's countries like China and Russia. It's countries like Cuba, and Albania, who invade the privacy of the citizens and non-democratic countries. And that has been done. If this was alone, I might have been thinking that this is an erratic action, but along with that has come another action. Prime Minister Trudeau, without consulting any other party, has taken a step which strikes at the root of the democratic traditions. He has appointed a former Governor General, David Johnston, as the first debate commissioner of Canada. Till now, debates have been organized by the community groups or by the media. There used to be CBC debate, there used to be CTV debate, there can be debate by global news or whatever. And now he says that the debates would be organized by this debate commissioner. One debate would be national, rather both would be national. One would be in English, the other would be in French. And the decision would be that of the commissioner who can participate in the debate. Now, when I come to the terms and conditions of the participants, you will either laugh out uproariously at the zany and humorous situation or shed tears at this rape of democracy in Canada. I'm not doubting the independence of David Johnston, let's be very clear. But the very fact that this is being regimented sends a bad odor. Federal-provincial conflicts and intra-party squabbles are a part of the drama that is being visible and that's dominating the Canadian cultural scene. And I'm reminded of a phrase, interesting. We always say we live in interesting time. If it's a war, it's an interesting time. If it's a famine, it's an interesting time. But it's a curse when the interesting equates to turbulence. As there is, in Canada, we are living in a very interesting time. Now, by not consulting the other parties on the nominee, Prime Minister has signaled, and it's a very clear signal, that the government believes it has the discretion to appoint whosoever suits its fancy to oversee the main event of the next federal election. Just 1 year more is left, less than 1 year. And they're manipulating the process of debate. What's debate? Debate is a sort of audit of the government, what it has done, and the promises what it shall do, all and promised by the other parties how they would be better. Now that process is sought to be manipulated by this regimentation. Again, this is not democratic. Debates are an expression of the people and the people want to hear it, but when it's regimented by the government, when it's dictated by the government, then the debates lose all meaning. And the Liberal government has set a criteria which will go on the admission of the leaders to the podium of next fall's commission-supervised election debate. Maybe they will also not permit certain questions to be asked because such questions might not be suitable to the party in power. Under the new plan, which is formulated by the government, the journalistic parameters of debates would be handled by the government appointee for the first time in the history of the world. Till today, no democratic party ever has a government appointed commissioner of debates. No, what could possibly go wrong? First, the process in the manner has chosen to create this new body. It comes across to the opposition at an arm's length. Government doesn't look like it is judge in the party. And it's not the job of the government to frame the Canada's electoral rules. That's for the Election Canada to do it. The government is taking away the autonomy and the power in a very insidious manner to destroy the democratic structure. When in opposition, as I said earlier, Justin Trudeau and his team spent a lot of time reminding the then Prime Minister Harper that no party should, on the basis of its governing majority, set the rules of the electoral engagement. And what is this government doing? Are they not? They're not setting the rules, they are setting misrules, misdirection. The debates are not marginal campaign events. Let's be very clear. The central ones that have in the past made or broken the party leaders. In the debate, a leader can make a hash of himself and emerge what he really is. Or he can become a hero. And that is the reason that behind the scene there is a haggling between the parties and the media sponsors that organize the debates. All the participants have a lot riding on the debates, and that includes the ruling party. Now the debate commissioner has to organize only 2 debates. And then not all would be permitted. Quite possible, and it is permissible that other parties can organize the debates, but the whole charm is lost when the major national debate, which is telecast over. In 2015, McLean and Monk Center had each sponsored a debate. But it's very easy to see that when the Prime Minister could be content with participating only in the Commission-sponsored national debate, he can say no. Justin Trudeau can say at the time of debate, I only want the participate in a debate which is organized by the debate commissioner. I would not go into private parties debate, and nobody can force him to do that. As a rule, a decent night for the Prime Minister seeking re-election that sees him or her walking away from the set with non-lethal wounds. It is a defensive exercise, and Prime Minister, by appointing the commissioner, is seeking to run away from the fight, rather create a mirage, create an image that he is lily white clean. It's always in the interest of an incumbent, if you remember I had said earlier, to limit his or her appearance. If it's limited appearance, not many questions can be asked. And now comes who can participate in the debates under the new rules of the government. To have a right to participate, a party should have to satisfy 2 of the 3 conditions. The first condition is it should have at least 1 MP elected under the banner. Okay, that's fair. And to be running candidates in at least 90% of the 338 ridings. 338 ridings. 90% they should be running. If they are not running in 90%, say they are running in 1 riding less than 90%, then they are not eligible for debate. That way, parties like Green Party and other parties will not be eligible to participate in debate. Third, they should have won at least 4% of the votes in the previous election. That means if you have a new party and you have not participated in the previous election and not got 4% vote, you cannot participate in the debate. So, if you cannot participate in debate, would that be a debate? That way you are limiting the debate only to the 3 major parties, Liberal, Conservative and the NDP. If this system was adopted, Bloc Québécois in 1993 would not have qualified to be a participant in the debate. So where would a federal commission bend the rules to make the podium for the sovereign party champions? The people who want secession from the country? And would the other parties accept that decision? Under the formula, there will be not less than 5 leaders in the commission's sponsored detail. What about Maxim Bernier. The last federal election featured 5 debates, if you remember. Harper declined the invitation to the debate organized by CBC, CTV. And they did not organize them, and they did not broadcast one. Liberal plan is to ensure that at least one debate in each language is available to all the leaders. But there is no obligation of CBC and CTV to carry it. If they find that the debate is not to the liking of liberals, the media, CBC and CTV, are already pro-liberal, so they'll walk away from that. The Journalism Umbrella Group, Federation of the Journalists in Quebec, has already said that the role of the journalists has been usurped by the government. And then, finally, by not consulting the other parties or the nominee, Justin Trudeau has clearly shown that he does not practice what he preaches. That what he wanted when he was in leader of opposition, he's trampling under his fancy socks this time. This is a precedent which any future prime minister can replicate, and that would be a disaster for the country. Imagine what the reaction of the Liberal Party would have been if Prime Minister Harper had imposed a referee to supervise 2050 election debate. They would have been shouting from the top of their voices, creating hell, telling people that the whole world has come to an end. And now that's what they are doing. They are derailing the democracy. They are derailing the democratic process. They are derailing all the tradition for the simple reason that they are panicky that they might be defeated. But is panic of a political party justified to usurp the rights of other parties and usurp the rights of the citizens to know the reality? It is really disheartening. Let's see how the wind blows, but it's a wake-up call for the citizens of the country that the future of democracy is at stake. The democracy would be like the democracy. The way it is going, if this thing continues, we would be possibly be living in China-like democracy, which is anyway the model, which just does all red ways, lauded, applauded, and praised. Maybe we are in for that system. Thank you.